Right now at noon, the damage tally continues to grow as Tulsa cleans up from not one but 3 tornadoes over the weekend.
As the severe threat gone from the area, of course, and we have several days of warm to hot weather ahead of us. We're going to talk about that forecast coming up.
And following a historic drought, we take a look at what breweries in France are doing to conserve water.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
More than 200,000 are still without power after 3 twisters ripped through the Tulsa metro over the weekend. This is KOAM News at Noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Topping our first 7 minutes, it's cleanup day for crews in Tulsa after a devastating weekend storm leaves behind a trail of destruction. Today, the city continues to assess damage. The National Weather Service says 3 EF1 tornadoes with winds over 110 miles per hour traveled for miles in the early Sunday morning hours. The storm knocked down more than 250 power poles and lines throughout Tulsa. Electric crews say it could take a week before power is completely restored. We had quite a bit of wind and severe weather here in the 4 states as well. Chris Warner joins us with a first look at our forecast.
Yeah, that same system is what brought us our severe thunderstorms early Sunday morning across the area. Part of a low pressure that was out in Kansas, and as it swirled around, it swept through Oklahoma and then began to turn northeasterly right up the turnpike and came right into our neck of the woods, giving us some strong damaging winds across the region. Thankfully, no tornadoes in our immediate area, at least none that have been confirmed by any National Weather Service surveys. And today, obviously, a totally different day than what we saw as we went into Sunday morning. 20th and range line, MoDOT camera there. We've got clear skies, plentiful sunshine. Same from the KDOT camera at 69 and East 520th Avenue, just south of Pittsburgh, after a foggy start to our morning. Now, one thing I wanted to mention is there is a heat advisory that does go into Delaware County, so it includes Grove, Jay, and Kansas, and this runs until 9 o'clock tonight. Now, this heat advisory is not necessarily because they're expecting oppressive heat by any means, but as Tanya just mentioned, there's a number of people still without power in these areas, which puts you at a slightly higher risk. You're a little more susceptible to the heat. And of course, a lot of folks out there doing cleanup across the area, and that puts you at more risk for the heat as well. So anybody, even in our area, if you're doing any cleanup, make sure that you're staying hydrated, taking precautions. Yesterday started at 64, made it up to 81, so not quite at our averages, but not that far off. We're at 85 Joplin, 84 Pittsburgh, 87 in Parsons, 86 Miami, and 83 in Neosho. These temperatures are going to continue to climb, especially as we head into the weekend. We'll take a full look at that forecast here in just a few more minutes.
All right, thanks, Chris. Today marks Juneteenth, the day the last enslaved African Americans in the U.S. learned of their emancipation. Now, one of the 4 states' most prominent figures, George Washington Carver, is also one of its most inspirational. Born into slavery in 1864, George Washington Carver went on to become one of the most celebrated American scientists.
Very beginnings, when he left here, I'm sure it was a lot of struggles for him, but he never gave up. And so it's a really inspirational story for anyone to see that this kid that was born here, and he never gave up.
The George Washington Carver National Monument is located in Diamond, Missouri. Topping Nation Watch, a high-stakes meeting between the U.S. and China to ease tensions. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the U.S. has no illusions about the challenges of managing its relationship with China. The comments follow Blinken's meeting with China's president earlier today. Natalie Brand has the latest from the White House.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken spent 30 minutes face-to-face with China's President Xi Jinping.
The United States and China have an obligation to responsibly manage our relationship.
High-stakes visit set up to cool tensions between the 2 countries.
Progress is hard. It takes time, and it's not the product of one visit, one trip, one conversation. My hope and expectation is we will have better communications, better engagement going forward.
While Secretary Blinken said they both agree on the need to stabilize the relationship, China did not agree to move forward with reestablishing military-to-military communications.
I think that's an issue that we have to keep working on. It is very important that we restore those channels.
The 2 sides agreed to continue to talk, but differences remain on key issues from trade to Taiwan.
China's top diplomat says his country has no room to compromise or concede on Taiwan, emphasizing China opposes the democratic island's independence.
China's sending a message, hey, we're in charge now. You're finished, to the West and to the United States. And I think it's indicative of what they hope to achieve.
Secretary Blinken says he expects his trip to Beijing to lead to additional diplomatic visits over the coming weeks. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
Blinken also emphasized possible cooperation between the two nations in areas of mutual interest, including climate and public health. With rising temperatures and climate change, the beer industry in France is under pressure to cut back on how much water is used in the brewing process. Riley Carlson shows us what breweries are doing following the country's worst drought on record.
From brewing to bottling, making beer uses a lot of water. At the Castellan Brewery in France, 13 gallons of water are used for every 2 gallons of beer. But the company wants to find ways to use less by the end of the year. It's invested thousands in an automatic washing system to monitor how much water is used. At the Malteries Soufflé in Strasbourg, they're hoping to reduce the water used to steep and germinate grain by 30% before 2030, even if they have to look for new crops. We want to ensure we have new varieties that will be able to absorb water more easily, the managing director says, and therefore use less in the process. After a dry winter in France, many fear the country could see a second year of record drought, and industries that rely on water know they need to find ways to conserve. I think it's the case for all industry, all farmers, and even the general public, says this sustainable developer. The issue of water is becoming of paramount importance to help keep taps like this from running dry. Riley Carlson, CBS News, London.
Brewers say they'd also like help from the government officials to allow them to reuse treated water in the process, something that's currently not allowed in France. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon, authorities warn about the latest real estate scam that's leaving property owners in a lurch. And later, we're making lemonade, poached salmon in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. California man nearly had his property stolen from right under his nose. Luckily, a nosy neighbor stopped it from happening. Kristen Lazar tells us more about this real estate scam.
That old phrase, know your neighbors? Well, George Stantz feels incredibly lucky to know his.
My guardian angel, my neighbor, Maribel.
Maribel Munoz noticed strangers taking photos and scoping out the vacant lot next door, owned by George.
There were like 3 people taking measurements.
Maribel's a licensed realtor, so she looked up George's property and found that it was listed for sale on Zillow for well under market value. George called police and the listing agent.
According to the broker, it was an escrow, a cash-only sale, which requires no funding from banks, so it would close any day, the broker said.
George was days away from having the title of his mortgage-free investment transferred to someone else.
My investment gone. It was that close.
LAPD Detective Brian Kalikia is handling George's case. He says the fraudulent deal was done over the phone and with electronic signing.
All property information as far as title vesting is all public information. So there are people that know how to search for this information. And from there, all it takes is for a little bit of internet research to gain enough knowledge about that person to impersonate them.
Investigators say thieves mostly target property that does not have a mortgage and is under the name of just one person. A loan and multiple owners makes it more difficult to steal. Authorities say scams like this have skyrocketed since the pandemic. Christine Lazar, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
Fish so tasty, it's worthy of toasting with a big frosty glass of lemonade. It'll all make sense if you stay where you are. We'll be right back.
But first, we've got warmer temperatures as we head through the week as the first official day of summer is almost upon us. And we'll take a look back at these storm reports from Sunday night when we come back. Welcome back to the KOAM News at Noon. So Saturday night or Sunday morning, depending on your perspective and how late you were awake, we had some pretty rocky thunderstorms that rolled through the area. We had a number of severe weather reports, including damage reports around the area as well. So this whole system was part of a big spinning low pressure out toward Wichita. And it began this line of thunderstorms out to the west, and they began to sweep down in through Oklahoma. And then with the spinning of the low, came right back up I-44 into our area. And this is a wide view of all of those storm reports, including those tornado reports in parts of northeast Oklahoma. So we're going to start in parts of southwest Missouri and into southeast Kansas. These orange dots, these are wind damage reports, and the green are just confirmed wind gust reports. And you can see a number of wind damage reports, including one in Columbus, one in Miami, one to the east, or sorry, to the west of Grove, and then this whole slew of them just right up this line here from McDonald County, Newton County, and into eastern Jasper County. Most of these, not all of them, but most of them are damaged trees, power lines, and uprooted trees in some cases. We go into Miami and Grove, northeast Oklahoma. We had some wind damage reports. A commercial building lost a roof in Miami. Wind gust reports upwards of 70, 75 miles an hour in Grove. And you track farther back to the southwest down into Tulsa, they had wind gusts 90 to 100 miles an hour. And watching the coverage from that night, these tornadoes were essentially what we call they were tornadoes just embedded within the squall line, QLCS tornadoes. And what happens is the winds at the surface in this line of storms are blowing so fast, they cause portions of the storm to rotate and in some cases can put down some weak tornadoes. So that's what happened for us on our Sunday night, or Sunday morning, Saturday night. Right now, though, it's warming up and it is sunny. MoDOT camera 20th and Rangeline, blue skies. It is warming up quite nicely. Blue skies on our camera at 7th and Rangeline. We're sitting at 85 in Joplin. Dew point's at 62, so could be worse. Humidity's come down from this morning to 46% rather. Heat index 85, so it's the same as our temperature. 84 in Pittsburgh, sunny skies. That's what it feels like. Dew point humidity coming down just a bit. Otherwise, beautiful day out there, just a bit on the toasty side. Around the area, the further west you go, the hotter it gets. 87s in Yates Center, Neodesha, Chinook, Parsons. 86 Chatopa, Miami. 83 in Neosho. A little cooler in Monette, sitting at 81. 84 Carthage and Lamar. Go through the rest of our day. We're still looking at highs pushing upper 80s to right around 90 degrees. So again, if you're outside doing any cleanup from the storms, you just want to make sure you're staying hydrated, take breaks as you can, and dress safely and appropriately. As we go into the evening, we don't cool down super quick. 84 by 8, 77 at 10, 74 by midnight. Overnight lows fairly mild, back into the upper 60s. As we head into tomorrow, another sunny day ahead of us, and temperatures pushing again right around 90, maybe even some lower 90s out there. Let's take a look down the road. We go low 90s, first day of summer, partly cloudy. Partly cloudy Thursday, upper 80s, low 90s, or right around 90 for us on Friday. Saturday and Sunday, though, mid-90s. Saturday's low in the upper 70s, near 80. Some pop-up storms possible Sunday and Monday. And then we head into the middle of next week, and I know nobody likes it, but boy, when summer arrives, temperatures soaring mid to upper 90s, pushing really close, flirting with that 100-degree mark as we head into next week. So enjoy these 90s while you can, because it's going to get hotter.
Even 90s are too hot for me.
Absolutely. I completely
Thursday's
agree.
getting there, but not quite.
Not quite. Thursday's as good as we can get, I think.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Well, stick around. We're making lemonade poached salmon after the break. Looking for a refreshing summer meal? Look no further. Today, Howard is making a lemonade poached salmon in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Are you ready to have some fun? I sure hope so, because today we're combining our love for homemade pucker-up lemonade with fresh salmon. I know you're thinking, that sounds odd, but once you see how this comes together, you'll be hooked. The first thing we're going to do is make a creamy lemon sauce by combining some mayonnaise with a bit of frozen lemonade concentrate that we thawed, along with a bit of black pepper. We'll set that aside for a sec while in a large skillet, we heat the rest of the lemonade concentrate with some water. Once it's boiling, we lower the heat and add our salmon fillets. You want to cook this until the fish flakes easily, which takes about 8 minutes. When it's done, it's ready to serve hot or cold with our homemade lemonade sauce. With only a handful of ingredients and it being done in less than 10 minutes, I can't think of a better summertime meal. To get the recipe for our lemonade poached salmon, all you need to do is visit our website. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a surprisingly refreshing way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4-state market prices.
All right, it's going to start to warm up. Highs today right around 90, low 90s tomorrow. And for the first day of summer, go the low 80s and or upper 80s rather, near 90 as we close out the week. And then this weekend, oh boy, it's going to be summertime for sure. Temperatures mid, maybe even upper 90s. Saturday night's low of near 80, just as it blows my mind still because it's getting toasty. And maybe some pop-up storms on Sunday.
What do we have coming up tonight at 5?
Well, a lot at 5. For starters, health advocates hope a new type of vending machine will save lives. And Health Watch, how it's already dispensing critical medical supplies to neighborhoods in need. Plus, a weekend of Juneteenth celebrations is wrapping up today with a Walk It Out march in Parsons, Kansas. And the Kansas Bureau of Investigation releases findings from letters containing white powder sent across the state. Hope you join us for those stories. A lot more. It's coming up on KOAM News at 5.
All right. Thank you, Dal. Thanks for joining us for KOAM News at noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.